What's going on, Mr. Matty Moses here. Today, I'm fortunate enough to spend some time with Smoke. He reached out to me, wanted to do an interview, kind of pick my brain for a little bit. So, really looking forward to this. Let me jump back here to the settings, make sure everything's good with chat. We'll go to OBS here. Let me flip it up so you guys don't have to stare at my face. Seth, you ready to rock?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, that's a booyah. Keep an eye on the chat. I'll pop that up so I can, okay. See what's going on. Just type in. Hello, hello. Make sure the...
Yeah, and of course, anybody that has questions for Matt or myself there, feel free to ask them, definitely. Yeah. We'll try our best to get to answer your question as quickly as we can. Here we got I've got 8 questions for Matt, or Mr. Matty Moses here, just to make sure that we've got a little bit more about him for people that are interested, because I figured he would be every bit as interesting of a guest to interview as anybody he's going to get to interview himself.
Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Are we looking good on the chat and everything like that?
Oh yeah, here we go. Shout out to my brother Matty. What's up? What's up, Truth Seeker? Cool. All right. Yeah. Oh, I'll ask him about sound. How are we sounding? See what they say. But the volume levels look good on my end.
Perfect. Yeah, they sound really good on through my headphone that I got going right here, the little earplug I got.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I got the over the head. I brought some smaller ones, but very cool.
Right on, right on. Well then, if we're sounding good, let's get to it. I thought one of the most important things to start with were who are your main influences, or rather, what are your main influences for? Let's just start with rap music in general, as well as conscious hip hop.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I started off growing up listening to a lot of more of the poppy stuff, like Whoop There It Is, Vanilla Ice, memorizing those songs and getting used to that rhythm of it.
For sure.
Which was a lot of fun. But then, House of Pain, Jump Around was one of the ones my brother... Okay, Truth Seeker says we're sounding good, so I'll keep...
Nice.
Yeah, House of Pain is really funny. I was gaming with I have an older half brother, and he dropped some of the lyrics on me. He beat me at something. We were playing like Twisted Metal, and he's like... word to your mom. I came to drop bombs or something like that. I'm like, what does that even mean?
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then he plays me the song, and he had a cassette tape of that album, Fine Malt Lyrics, and he gave that to me. Man, I listened to that all the way through. My poor mom, like we'd be driving around, and we'd put that in, and yeah, just listen to that a whole lot, and that inspired me to write a little bit more, and then write down stuff, man. And when you're a teenager, there isn't a lot much to rap about, other than your private parts, I guess, and girls and stuff. So, or just emulating what I was hearing, other people one. Rap about. But, Truth Seeker says that it's nice to see you. Nice to see you, my brother Smoke. Just in case for the YouTube
nice to see, or nice to hear from you, man. It's great to be here. Love to interview Matt and figure out a bit more here, because honestly, this sort of stuff is what brings us into conscious hip hop, and it's great to see people's journeys here. Honestly, Everlast, amazing artist. Totally get how that could bring you into rap music.
Yeah, totally.
Being a teenager, that is truly one of the weirdest times to look back on now as a grown-ass man that's been rapping for a while, of some of the cringiest shit you've ever written in your entire life.
Dude,
I'm sure.
I straight up found a notebook, like I was cleaning up, and sometimes you want to save stuff for nostalgia. You're like, okay, I'll save this, and I was going through it. I'm like, you know what? Honestly, like, I don't ever want anyone to know I wrote this stuff. I'm throwing this away. One of them was a song called "Bo," because like I went to this school, and I went to school with the guy, Kit. His nickname was Bo. He smelled. It was for body odor. We called him Bo. I was friends with him. I wrote him a song, Bo Diddley Bo, all this stuff.
That's like, amazing.
It was terrible. Like this.
Oh yeah, I bet.
I threw it away. I'm like, I can't keep this notebook. I have to be a different person right now. Oh, cool. A couple more people climbing through here. Let's see. Game Room. What's up, Game Room? No Yeet. The Juggalo. Awesome. Very cool. Just giving quick shout outs. But yeah, like you're saying with Everlast and yeah, House of Pain helped, made me want to write. So I did make, oh my gosh, if I can ever find it, I wish I had some of it. My buddies have copies of the discs. I was in like almost like a pop, like, it was more like CNC Music Factory is the kind of music we were making. And it was called Microcosm. I might have told you some of this, but it was called Microcosm. And one of our songs we got to perform was called Dancing Tune. And we totally ripped this song from Vigilante 8. And it's got like the 70s, like, ooh, ooh, you know, like, we wrote a song, like, I was trying to get it played at my wedding. A friend of mine surprised me, he brought it with. And he was like, oh, play the first song. Well, the first song is just my friend and I talking stupid, you know, hey, thanks for checking out the album. Yeah. I'm M jamming, and he's like, oh, I'm Strong J. Well, the DJ, when he heard the talking, he's like, I'm not playing this. He stopped. So it's actually track 2 is what he should have played. So I would have been able to jam to my own song at my wedding, but we'll see. We're doing a 10-year one next year, so I'll make that happen. But
nice.
No, so I guess I had been running for a long time, so that's probably like 13. That was summer of 8th grade, so I'm probably 13. Made that album, dude. In order to steal the beats was like recording it, playing through the speakers with Windows Media Recorder, that weird little.
Dude, I'm literally on the same tip, so I get you. It is so ghetto, but goddamn, was it glorious?
Yes. Oh my gosh, and like some of it you can hear. We had birds. And I hated the birds. I love you, Mom. Yep. I hated the birds. And you can hear them like tweeting through some of it. You know, they're like parakeets, so it's not like
goddamn airplane
song.
noises
like,
or something in the background.
Yeah. It's like, no, and then it just grew from there. I wrote songs. It's so funny. Everlast came out with his solo stuff because I think that was '98, and then I was working with the guy. Went to school with him. He was a couple grades ahead of me, and he played the guitar. And he's like, you guys write really great stuff. Like you should, write a song. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'll write a song. So I wrote like a hip hop song lyrically, but it was like about these two guys that used to like go rob banks together. They got away with it, and they're like old, living on their porch, like reminiscing. He was like, not a song like that. Like he's like Led Zeppelin, and then I was like, oh, so I like.
You mean like a song?
Yeah. Not a song. Okay, yeah. So that was kind of embarrassing, but that opened my eyes a little bit. Oh, the Smoke chat saying that they love your music, especially with Eric. And shout out to Chief Crow and the Flat Earth Worms and Brian Stavely. What's up, everybody? Thanks for popping in. This is awesome.
God damn, we got a hell of a chat today,
This is crazy. Monday at noon. I never would have. Let me write that down. No, so yeah, my musical journey has been crazy, influenced by a lot of different people, like the CNC Music Factory. Even I'm just a squirrel trying to get a nut, so move your butt on. Like all that silly stuff.
Oh yeah, Freedom, or what is it? Freedom Williams, I believe is his name. That guy is champion.
Yeah, champion for sure.
Reminds me of almost like Ice-T if he did dance music.
Yeah, yes, that is a really good comparison. I love that. That is a really good comparison. But yeah, and then what steered me towards conscious hip hop, I would say, was then Public Enemy. So being aware of like, I remember downloading Can't Trust It, trying to find it on Kazaa.
Nice.
Kazaa, how do we say it? I don't know. There's 2 A's. Kazaa.
Kazaa, I think.
That's how I've been saying it. Kazaa. Like there's 2 A's, right? You gotta go with that. Yeah, can't trust it and stuff like that. Where, just hearing different information from people. So 98. Everlast, and then some Public Enemy, and that kind of rolled me into like Rage Against the Machine. I think that opened me up for that too.
Same. Yeah, that first Rage album, or even just like the first 2 even, are so, my God, is it not like a kick in the balls for a young man of just like, of like intense ass energy of just, it's probably, other than maybe something like I guess Paris or Public Enemy or something really aggressive like that, you're not going to find something that's both conscious type music, but also absolutely like a punch in the face as those first like one or two Rage
Yeah.
Against the Machine albums.
Totally. And that totally played on like my teenage angst, right? Or that anger.
Oh,
that
yeah.
it helped give it direction, or look into it. And I think we had talked about that one other time too, where some of that stuff was on my radar, but I still didn't dig though. So I wasn't like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
who is he exactly rapping about, So I didn't dig that way, but yeah, it's still, I think, is in your subliminal at that point, like, okay, a little bit more open to different ideas, or like different political stances, protests like that. So
Well, that you could have political music itself. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
big things that like Public Enemy definitely helps open people up to, is the idea that you can have a message that
Yeah.
goes beyond just, we're just here having a good time making music just to make music to dance to or to vibe to or something like that.
Right.
And it's really, really cool to see how that has affected people, because you're far from the only person to tell me that that is involved with conscious hip hop at all, that
yeah,
Public Enemy is like one of their biggest influences. And it's weird because they don't even
Yeah.
have to be people that listen to Public Enemy anymore or any of that, but
Right.
Chuck D has done a wonderful job of waking a lot of people up. I gotta give him
Definitely.
mad credit for that.
Definitely breaking that mold, taking away the glitz and glam of it, and the cars and the women, and this was just like militant hip hop. Like, hey, I have a real message. Do not be distracted by anything else other than these guys dancing behind me. Don't be no, But yeah, they had a message. It was powerful. And then I remember I worked at McDonald's with DMO. And that was when I was aware of Wu-Tang, but then that was kind of where we came together a little bit more like that. And that was another one too, where they have a song within an album. You're surrounded by all these lyricists, and then you have a song like Cream, kind of just explaining the world around them. And I do want to do a Music Matters on them and that song. I think that's a great, version of it.
For sure. We were talking about before we started this interview here or anything like that, of they're, like you were just saying, they're a great example of a group that will have either a song on an album or lines scattered throughout all of their songs that are almost right there of what I would consider conscious hip hop, but then it's buried in a whole lot of just more traditional quote unquote rap music. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. It's just that can be kind of off-putting for somebody that's coming from conscious hip hop that has never listened to something like Wu-Tang Clan or something.
Yeah.
Then going into it, it's because my fiance never listened to rap music before myself and before guys like Payday Monsanto or Beast 1333 or something like that. So she's
Sure.
had a real hard time getting into traditional rap music overall.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that. That would be tough. I try to keep that in mind with my Music Matters with that series too. Is just that like, okay, how do I make this for other, free thinkers or truth seekers? How do I make this about that and not just, some like. I liked when I ran across Dangerous. Dangerous was cool.
Yeah.
Spotify was like, oh, you might like him, boom, or things like that. The recommendations you gave me. I mean, Diesel Automatic, Steve Grant, all these other people. Which like I've had some really cool back and forths with Steve Grant. He's a lot more active on Instagram. He's been posting a lot of stuff about EMF. And
God, I would love to work with that guy.
oh, that'd be so cool. I want, that's like he's on my list. Diesel Automatic, and Diesel Automatic, he was like, oh, he had a beat. I think he was freestyling over it, and he was like, oh, okay, he was gonna do a contest. Everyone write to this, remix this, and then and then he was gonna pick a winner and collaborate with them. I was pumped, like, yes, let's go. Like I'm gonna do this, and then I never saw it come
That's
out,
too bad.
So yeah, and he's been dropping stuff, and he's trying to really ramp things up too, and. No, but it is cool. Yeah, it all does push each other. Yeah, Diesel Automatic would be cool. Steve Grant. Yeah.
Well, this kind of ties into our next question here, and I mean, you answered it a little bit, but how did you first get into, well, not obviously rap, since you already were just talking about that, but specifically conscious hip hop? What was the big pushing factor, deciding factor in you fully deciding to commit into making more conscious music?
You know what? And you worded it perfectly. That's a great question, and I can remember the exact moment too. So it was, I had just gotten off of Moses and the Hermit Act 1 with DMO, and he was hurting. He was in a really bad spot. We were kind of laying low. We were kind of in limbo, and all of a sudden, I was on one of those ODD TV binges, and then a mixture of Then what was it? It was Vinny Paz and End of Days, we talked about a little bit before this. That song came on, and that I'm like, okay, this guy he's rapping about every different single thing, skeletons on the moon, which even by that point I didn't necessarily agree with, but like to hear someone like with excellent production value rapping about this stuff, like I'm like, okay, that really started to push me. He was talking about his stuff, and then shortly thereafter, I even found like a Vinny Paz type beat, and then made Men on the Moon ? So, and that was just a single. That was just like, okay, nice. I felt compelled to make this. It was one of those ones that was packed with like just information. You think we put a man on the moon, you probably believe we're going to go to Mars too. That's just something that we can't do. And I was just hot off of all that stuff, all that information, the Van Allen belt and all that. It's just packed. It's one of the songs, like we've said that before too, that it writes itself. The information is there. You have one topic, and then I just basically went down the line. Like, you think we can leave, Van Allen racing belt, that's 4,000 degrees sounds hotter than hell, and things like that, just kind of to get people to think about it. And that one did really well. I sat on it. It was a rough version. I just did that myself. I did not send that to someone to Fiverr. That one sat for a while, and then basically wanted to redo it. I even had a music video for it, but it was straight up me with my phone walking around like, you believe put a man on the moon. I got my little like London Everlast cabbie hat, that my sister got me from when she went to England. So I was rocking that.
It's like a little newsy cap or something.
Yes, totally. I was rocking that, and then rapping in my phone and just going. And then I put that up. I put the video up, but it wasn't getting any traction, and I kind of was like, well, I can do better. So that's why I pulled it and never really redid it. What's up, RT in the chat? RT, what's up? Juggalo, talking about all kinds of all cool stuff here. Psilocybin.
What's
Mandela
up, RT?
RT, let's go. And then but yeah, so that was really one of the launch pads, I would say. Was that connection between ODD TV, Vinny Paz, End of Days, and then making that Men on the Moon, and that was when the switch turned on. I actually had a song. I was working on a solo project, and it slowly transformed into like my intro off of Who Am I, where I was kind of like, I was listening off all these what was the beat I had too, and it actually all changed, but I was working on this intro track of just like, I'll keep you chained up like Alice, the phallus continues. I was trying to be lyrical, but I was trying too hard because I was trying to like list my favorite bands and use them in different ways, and like I had it all written out. I'm like, wow, this is actually super corny.
But that kind of stuff helps push you, though.
Totally. And then that's what grew into, then I did Men on the Moon, and then that intro to Mr. Mag, that intro then changed from that first one too, or kind of the different theme, different beat. I remember I was still living in Saukville. I'm in Wisconsin, everybody, if you want to try and, instead of doxing me, I'll just tell you where I live and shit. But I would go to the library, headphones on, and then writing it all out while my wife, she would just hang back with our daughter at the time, just hang back, and she's like, go do something, anything, and I'll catch you later. And then that was part of DMO was in a pretty rough spot, and it was like, oh, come on over, we'll hang out. But there was some like miscommunication, so when he wasn't there, I'm like, well, I'll just go write, and then that's why I started working on that project. But so
that is awesome. I love people working together, and I love absolutely one thing I've noticed, not just in the conscious hip hop community, but specifically in the quote unquote conspiracy community or citizen activism, independent journalism, all this type of stuff of people. Your heart is in it. And when your heart is in it, you tend to give a crap about other people and the fact that their heart is in it too, and trying to help them and trying to push forward to collaborate together and stuff like that. Because I've seen people that, hell, man, there are people I don't even know that, and when I say I don't even know, I mean, I've never actually met these people face to face that have helped me more than I have ever been helped by somebody in my entire life before type stuff. Yeah, and totally. All because they saw potential in me, and I try and do that with other people, and I fucking love that stuff, man. I think that sort of stuff is the spark that they've almost tried to beat out of us as humanity. Yeah. And that if we can just start doing that sort of stuff, that sort of collaboration, but instead of just in our little pocket, of culture if we started doing that in almost everything in our lives, that we see people that are doing positive things and helping to change things, working together, man. Because on it, like, even something so simple as working together on a rap album at times
Yeah,
feels like it's just many hands make light work. And it's that there's something beautiful about being able to envision something beforehand, work collaboratively with somebody else to envision that thing, and then together both of you create something wholly unique from what either of you probably envisioned by yourselves. And I think
totally.
that's fucking beautiful.
Totally. Yeah, well put. I agree 100%. That's definitely, it's helped, especially with, oh, here, let me flick this over. My Google Hangouts doesn't switch to whoever is talking, so
It's all good, man.
everyone's got to stare at me for 1 second. But yeah, I feel that way. DMO totally helped. I ended up redoing Men on the Moon and going over there, and he had my back 100% because he was having issues with his lung and kind of getting his breath back, and he was supportive of my solo project, which actually, okay, so it was written into the Moses and the Hermit story. So, and DMO gets all the credit for that as well. So basically it has like this Star Wars approach. Moses and the Hermit Act 1. Those of you that don't know, the story is, I'll give a real quick shout out to Critical Thinker in the chat. Thank you for popping in. Before I go on this tangent. Moses and the Hermit Act 1 was, I'm like lost. I'm younger, new to hip hop, lost as in like I don't want to rap about mainstream stuff. And then DMO is the hermit, and he's like been there, done that, but wants to see change. It's like the legend of, and I'm basically going to find Yoda. He's the Yoda. So that was Act 1. We come together, we meet, boom, going forward. It was gonna go Act 1, we meet. Act 2 is the rhyming of us like working together, getting better. Some of the songs like different. It was a lot of the first song was The Road, and then the second one was The Path of Act 2. It's a whole thing, so I'll try to explain it the best I can. But we originally had Act 1, Act 2 solo projects, because at the end of Act 2 I'm kind of like coming to my own. In one of my songs, one of the lyrics towards the end is I wish I needed to name it, the name of it, but it wasn't Respect Duel, but it was something like that, where we're talking trash back and forth, and I'm just saying to him like, I'll see you later. I'll see you at the grocery store bagging my groceries, or I'll see, so it was something like that. We were talking smack, and then we were supposed to separate, make each of our own solo projects, and then we would come back to Act 3 realizing like, hey, we're better together. Let's do this. Let's like take over the world. It's gonna be one of those things. And then,
I like your style.
Totally like, yeah, the whole story around it. Well, what happened was we did Act 1. DMO had the health issues, so that kind of bumped up me doing my solo project. So it was kind of already in the story arc, but it just bumped it forward. So he was all behind, recorded it, helped me, sent it out, found a guy, Andrei Pachenkov, if I'm saying that right, and he did that one, mixed, mastered it, did an awesome job. One thing that was kind of tough for me is sending something off and having someone else touch it. Like, so Men on the Moon, he did an awesome job with like some of the effects and making it like sounding like I'm in outer space for one of, or like through an intercom. He did a lot of different things like that. But then I noticed there was some kind of language barrier between the ad libs. Like, I listened to Men on the Moon, I'm like, I don't remember saying yeah like 8 times because the song like yeah, me talking and stuff like, so I don't know if some of that was just like part of the process. So when the project doesn't turn out exactly how you're envisioning, then you kind of want a little bit more your own control, your own handle on it. So that's what ended up happening with My World Order. Was I knew how I wanted it to sound, and then I think that one still is really raw on some of the songs on that one too. My World Order, I think We Do Not Consent is one of the, like, ODD did that one and mixed and he produced that one, so that one came out polished. But yeah,
he's a champ on that stuff. I remember the first time working with him where it was like, he's still to this day the only person I've worked with that actually can mix all of your stuff down to the point that it sounds like almost pro style level mixed and whatnot. He's really knows his shit, and I
Yeah,
fucking adore it. I mean,
totally.
I'm pretty sure I use probably what you and almost everyone else I know uses, including Eric, which is Audacity.
Yeah.
And my little microphone I've got right here that's like a $250, $300 mic, and Audacity, which is free. And I'm a rapper now.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I
Yeah.
feel it.
And they'll recommend Audacity in all the threads, man. It can get you a really clean recording, and people can work wonders with it too. The Brain Cell's done a lot of wonders. You know, we got a couple. Larry Epstein was one of the ones I thought turned out really well. But yeah, what people can do with it is amazing. So that was where my world order, yeah, it was super rough, but it turned out the way I wanted, other than the polish of having, it basically sounded raw. Immortal Technique, I think, what's the album, but it's got Point of No Return on it.
Oh, Revolutionary Volume 1, I think.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yeah, it's got the white background, the boombox or something, and then
Yeah, I think that's number 1. It might be number 2.
Yeah, okay, but I listened to that. I'm like, that's pretty raw. He doesn't have a lot of overs. He doesn't do the ad lib thing really. So I'm like, okay, it kind of sounds like that. I would like to remaster it. I think I have a lot of that, but that's just a pipe dream. But excuse me, like as we were talking about, so I came out with the 2 projects, and then DMO and we did Act 2, and then from there on. But yeah, that was pretty much what got me more down the conscious hip hop, or where I'm doing it that way.
I dig it. I dig it. Well, let's get on for our next question here.
Sure.
This is kind of a bit of a curveball. What sort of hobbies do you have outside of music? What sort of stuff helps keep you sane here in a crazy ass world?
Oh, sure. A lot of times it's the video games is my biggest
Same.
one. Yeah, I'm such a sucker for video games, and it's worse now. It's more addictive now because I do the battle royale. So like I play Apex Legends. I played a lot of PUBG. The pace of Apex Legends is faster. It was polished. It was free for a free game, really polished, and I just get hooked. Each round, if you win, it's like 20 minutes. So you get into the action is fast paced. Each round is different. You can have, so there's so many different variables, and like, I think that's where I can get into that. Not hyper focused, but I can get really honed in on it and just completely lose track of time. So you play, and you might be one of the first squads to die and get wiped, and you might be frustrated, but you're like, next, you just start the next one. Everything is so fast. You're in the next one, and then you just keep playing. But yeah, honestly, as far as hobbies, it really is video games. And then, yeah, if I'm not doing music or something music related, for sure.
I've noticed gaming tends to be, regardless of whether or not we're just talking exclusively video games, gaming in general tends to be sort of a thing that tends to unite a bunch of people within conscious hip hop. And I've noticed in general the citizen activism slash independent media, citizen journalism sort of cadre of people is in general video games, tabletop gaming, like everything from goddamn Warhammer fantasy battle type crap to freaking D&D. Tends to kind of bring people together around this stuff. But I also notice it's people that tend to have a decent imagination and also usually a decent enough of an intellect to be able to hold a story together and have more than one idea in their head at the same time without necessarily accepting either as true. I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy ideas, man. Crazy ideas.
No, I think that's true. And then like a certain, generation or what we grew up with, whether it was the imagination, like you're saying, and that openness to that creativity. I did play a little bit. It was a D&D offshoot called Pathfinder. So I did that, and your storytelling, it's critical thinking. A lot of times you're thinking outside of the box for solutions for stuff, or in video games, it's really just problem solving.
Escapism, because my God, escapism at times, is it not fucking nice?
It really is. I sunk over 100 hours into Skyrim, which doesn't sound like a lot now, happen. But what was that?
That'll happen, man. I'm almost embarrassed to say how many hours I've sunk into Skyrim, dude, and it's a hell of a lot more than 100. I'll tell you that.
Oh, totally.
I mean,
Yeah.
granted, when I started playing that, I was like, I think like 16, so you know, I had a lot more hours to sink into that motherfucker, but still.
Let me see. Someone was, um, oh, I had to scroll up. Someone was asking about the ODD TV stuff. They were trying to figure out who. So yeah, oh, 100, and that's and okay. So we talked about this before the live stream as well. Was that I had gotten my start with my YouTube channel was gaming. I mean, I played so much Modern Warfare 3. Buddy of mine got me into Battlefield 3, and then that was my escape from those of the stress or like just like trying to get Moabs or trying to get these clips. Was then I would play I play Skyrim and Red Dead Redemption, and then Skyrim. One of the Skyrim tips and tricks videos I have has quite a few amount of views on it, and that's what I was kind of trying to shoot for. Like, oh, I want to be able to help people, and it's like just if you're a beginner, I want to take you to the average level. It's not for like, I didn't really have like how to get Moabs. Like I mostly just posted when I got them on each new map, but my tips and tricks were like Battlefield 3, things like that. So just trying to help other people. And that's what slowly I got back to with the Music Matters was like, okay, how can I help people and still find something about music? How can I share my experience with other people instead of just my own content? But
Yeah, well, I think that's super important for sure because it helps bring people together around communal ideas and stuff like that. So, well, I'm sure you've noticed this as somebody that's been on YouTube for a while. YouTube's recommendations used to not be terrible. In fact, they actually used to be outright amazing, like among the best I have ever seen ever, to the point that if BitChute or Library or any of these alternatives can get their shit together, they will probably blow YouTube out of the fucking water at this point because their algorithm they had for original recommendations are literally responsible for me being into guys like Steve Grant, ODD TV, Eric Dubay, just Payday Monsanto, anybody you can think of there. I was literally brought to those people by YouTube recommendations back in the day before the algorithm became dog crap.
Yeah, that was like the adpocalypse. That original where like they started to, all of a sudden they started to change it, and that was the early version of it. Because I was watching, all of a sudden it would be like ODD TV, and then that turned me on to Richie from Boston, and that turned me on to Russian vids. Like you said, like the recommendations weren't crap. It was awesome. Spent endless amounts of time on YouTube watching this stuff. Like, man.
And now it all just seems to like lead you right back to CNN, MSNBC, Jimmy Kimmel videos, or some bullshit like that. That means just nothing. It's almost like YouTube has become TV.
That's so true. Like they found a way. They took it over, and then no joke, whatever video I end up watching, I'll see the preview of it, and it's the press secretary. It's like that's the Fox News. They want to show me the same video. It's like always that. I'm like God, you're not. It's not even something that pertains to what I'm watching. Even if I try to watch a bunch of different stuff too. A lot of the like Black Lives Matter stuff. I try to get everyone's different viewpoints. I can't remember his name, but I know the initials are ABL. But he's like, I like his information.
Anthony Brian Logan.
Thank you. Yes.
Welcome.
Man, you're so good at this. I like his stuff too. I like to hear what everyone says about everything, and I kind of just stay to the back. I've been trying not to make posts, try to leave Facebook the hell alone, and just let this ride. I think we've talked about this in the past too, but like I feel like my music. Do you want to know how I feel about something? Then listen to some of my songs. Take a stand. Our song, Conventional Education, things like that. Listen to stuff like that, dude. Our song Revolution is like, I think we really like snapped a photograph of a time all those different protests were going right before this. Like right when we did that song, got it out there, they were all over the place. Chile and Lebanon, the list goes on. I remember even rapping that too, and then that was a fun one to do with you, man. That was really cool.
Thanks, man.
That's great. It's like I forget about them because it's like we go to each practice makes perfect, revolution. You start going, but rabbit hole, like we're on that one, but like ODD did.
It still totally feels like a collab with ODD though, man, because that took a while, and that had we had to actually re-record stuff and try and keep it for real and whatnot. That was exactly one of those cases though where I totally feel you on the feeling weird about sending music off to somebody else to mix down and to do and all that. I mean, ODD's really talented with all that, but it still feels weird as somebody that does all their own mixing and all this stuff. Even if my mixing sounds less good, it's just what I was prepared for, right? And so then you hear how it sounds later and you're like, that's weird as hell, man.
It is. Or like, what you're trying to imagine. And then we flipped the beat on that one, right? He kind of, he was like, okay, try this. And like, I wasn't trying to be a diva, but like I was listening to my lyrics. I'm like, I had something I said twice. And like, if I'm only writing 16 lines, I'm not saying the same thing twice. Cause I was like,
agreed.
Yeah. Like if you trust your government, then, I had something like that. I'm like, okay, ODD, I'm sorry if there's still time. And I resent it out to him and he was super cool about it. I love the way that song turned out. It'll pop up on my Spotify. All of a sudden, like my daily mix, and all of a sudden, Rabbit Hole comes on. Like, oh hell yeah, dude, we did that shit. Like, yeah, so that is fun, man. Getting to work with someone that you look up to us in a sense or respect as a peer. I feel like
that's something about working with Eric after a while is that there's something that people tend to not understand. That these are just people, man. Eric's just a guy like you and I. Just for some reason, people put motherfuckers on pedestals and have this idea that they're like just untouchable type thing. And in reality, they're just someone like you or I that decided to take their time and make something that they were passionate about. That's exactly the same way you or I are doing this right now. He just happened to do it before we were doing it, or just at a different time in a different way than we were doing it beforehand. And I fucking adore that kind of stuff. Before we get on to the next question, one thing when we were talking about YouTube there is, my God, I'm not a fan of him. I haven't been for a long time there. But Alex Jones is, I think, as endemic of what YouTube used to be as anyone you can find out there. Dude had like some crazy shit, like 1 billion plus YouTube views at a time when that was a really big deal, right? And where very few channels had over 1 billion views. He had it. He had something like over 100 million subscribers and all this craziness. And then they just go, and it's gone. That sort of stuff instantly should tell you the difference between what YouTube was and is now. Hell, man, I found Alex Jones as a 16-year-old kid looking through YouTube videos, man. That shit changed my fucking life, dude. Like,
that's right. Cause he was one of the big ones with the 9/11 stuff. Going out there.
Endgame was my big one for me personally. Endgame, that documentary, I swear to God, that thing was fucking enormous.
Let me get that. Yeah. In the chat.
It's the one where he talks about eugenics and the idea of like the one world government being based around eugenic supremacists and stuff like that. And the fact that vaccines and different shit like that he talks about on there, and I think that's a pretty cool one. But that brought me into the conspiracy fold, man, because I'm sure you and a lot of other people there's stuff that when you're a kid in general that you might not believe that everyone else believes. That's just some mainstream bullshit that someone at some point in your life questions that mainstream narrative on whatever subject it is. And then it starts getting you to think of, well, you can have different perspectives than what they told us on everything, which starts to get you to question stuff like, well, how do I know that history is real? How do I know that what I've been taught, it really is the case? Because I mean, couldn't whoever survived this situation of this war, of this whatever the fuck, just write about it later? Right. Couldn't we all just write about this pandemic later and just say that this is what caused it, this is what did it, now listen to me type shit?
Oh, totally.
I think that kind of helps shake people out of their complacency, and I think is a pretty important one. But let's just get into our next question here. We got number 4. Keep on trucking here. And this is a pretty interesting one. Is what people have had the biggest impact on your life? Not necessarily just in the sense of conscious hip hop, but in terms of your perspective overall as a person.
Okay, that's a really good one. I'll give, just so this doesn't get lost in the shuffle, is that Chief Crow and the Flat Earth Worms says, "Hey Smoke, I love your work on Spirit Level."
Thank you, man.
I love. And then someone, Honestly the Truth, says, "RT, Smoke, Mr. Matty Moses, Eric Dubé would make the ultimate conscious hip hop group." I agree.
Indubitably.
That's awesome. And Thirst for Truth, just shout outs to everybody real quick. But no, as far as my perspective, I would say most of it started with my mom and dad. Is my mom, we were raised Roman Catholic, but my mom saw how like tyrannical her dad was, and that the stance from the Catholic Church was like, you don't get divorced. So, my mom would see that, like, okay, he's a piece of crap. Treating my mom this way, or my grandma, but my mom's seeing this, like, he's doing that. So, like, how is that okay? So she had those questions, and she would pose to me, like, just because a kid isn't baptized, like, then they have to go to hell just because they don't know any, or
Yeah,
things
that's
like
brutal.
that. Yeah, so, like, she helped open my mind to those questions and got me asking those questions, like. And then I would take it the step further, being like, you have an entire country like China, that doesn't do that. So they all just, so once you start to ask questions like that, that really helped. My dad, because my dad is very conservative, or in the meaning of, like, reserved as well. So not to,
Yeah, like actually conservative.
Yes, actually conservative, and, like, always kept this cool. He'd think a lot of things through. You could always tell he'd be thinking, he'd be playing with his beard, his goatee, he'd be thinking, and always, well thought, and, well spoken, and just kind of waited like that. So that was a really good influence on my, perception out there. And then I think I'll give a shout out to DMO for that part too, even of just being able to have open conversations with stuff. And, like, Dave Chappelle was blowing up, like the Chappelle Show and South Park. We grew up with that. So even The Simpsons always does a really good job with their social commentary. I mean, we understand why now, but or how they had that. But so you had those people bringing up other things, and that was the kind of, I think that comedy helped. That infused those cartoons would help, like, where they would either shine a light on something or had some kind of joke, and then you would think, like, oh, okay, that is interesting. Why is it like that? But yeah, I've had some really good chats with DMO. Yeah, I'm trying to think too. Yeah, those handful of people too. My wife. Legally, I have to add her to the list. So. But yeah, between those, cartoons, other comedians. Bill Burr is one of those where he's not afraid to say, was he picking on Oprah or something? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, I think especially some of his older stuff, he used to be a lot more like sharp on the social commentary and be a lot less afraid of receiving backlash. But then again, that's because what we're talking about it's a different time in comedy, man. Like, there's even there's so many things that even guys like Dave Chappelle now, that were he to do some material like his older material, people would fucking freak out and lose their minds. But on the topic or subject you're bringing up of like your wife and stuff, I think is a great example of how a lot of people in the community in general, and I'm not talking about conscious hip hop, but as far as citizen activism, the conscious social awareness and stuff like that, how much of that is actually shared with your partner at home and whatnot. And I think that is super important for helping reinforce certain beliefs, but also really important for helping tear down certain things, and not necessarily just tear them down, but insert questions, to be able to actually question something openly in a way that, a great example of this is, without my fiance, I don't know that I would be into Flat Earth right now, because she is the first person to show me an ODD video.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And there was a period of a couple days when I kind of thought she might be fucking crazy, and so that was, I'm just being straight with you, man.
For sure. I think that's
there were a couple days when
that's
I'm
healthy,
like, oh, fuck me. Am I with a fucking crazy person right now? God damn it, man. It evolved from there and everything. But I think it's really important, and I absolutely adore how people grow, and how even something that, or someone that you wouldn't necessarily think is going to be this big catalyzing person in your life that helps actually bring you to a new understanding and awareness and whatnot, actually can definitely have that impact on your life. And I totally get your stuff with your parents and whatnot too. I've noticed that they tend to be one of the biggest influencing factors on people's perspective, and I think that's actually what's so important. And I have no offense to anybody that doesn't, or that didn't grow up in a 2-parent household or anything like that, but I think that's super important. And not just that, because I mean, you don't have to, man. There are people that they didn't grow up with either one or both of their parents and still had someone in their life that was willing to put forth the effort to actually try and make an impact on your life, to actually try and make you care, to make you feel like, more importantly, that someone cares about you and stuff. And in some cases, that could be grandparents, parents, step parents, just some neighbor, an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, just a friend. And
Yeah,
that sort of stuff I feel is super, super important to the early formative years of your life. And I just, it's really cool to hear from other people how that, how they've been impacted in their lives.
definitely.
Let's see. Number 5 here. This is another little bit of a different one, and then we'll get back into a bit more of the hip hop type stuff. Uh, how are you dealing overall with the COVID lockdown and all this sort of stuff? How has this impacted you?
Sure, sure. It's been a trip. It's been kind of surreal because I've still
True
had to go to
that.
work with like reduced hours, but like I'm still going to work. I was mostly doing the grocery shopping, which like we did a couple pickups, but mostly I would still just go through the store. Everything was pretty lax on masks. Like all the employees were wearing them, but they were nothing was like mandated or like you have to wear one. So people, you'd see people who you would think older people wore them, and then depending on how young people were or maybe if I think it was pretty mixed, like probably not even 50-50 on
Yeah.
masks. So that was kind of just like okay, not a big deal. Yeah, the biggest thing was when I got sick during it, and that kind of part of just like having to, my wife was really good about it, but it had me, I spent that time quarantined just in the basement, spent that time away, and they kept me, they took care of me that way basically, so, because that was like a Wednesday, and then or yeah, I think that was a Wednesday or a Thursday, but then, by Saturday I came up because then my daughter was sick, so then I came up just back into general population, we'll call it, and then spent that time with the rest of them. But I was better by Sunday, so that's why I say I was sick for 4 days.
Yeah, so
But
probably just basic cold stuff anyway.
yeah, yeah. So and that's the thing, but it was the reaction of it, and then it was like, um, that because at that time I had seen everything, and I know that sounds really vague. I've seen
No,
everything.
I get you. I totally get that.
Yeah, it was like I had seen them like locking doors on people in China because they were like they didn't want to let them out because they thought they were infected. People falling over in the streets dead over all that propaganda had made its way over here before we heard much about it. So all of that was in my mind,
Yeah.
but also like other people through other critical thinkers where like it's a bioweapon, it's a hoax. So all that stuff was in my mind. So I tried to just being down and being quarantined was probably where I had that time to myself to like really think it through, slow down, a lot of berries, antioxidants, oranges, vitamin C. Just went down that list because I was looking into it because there was a lot of stuff on conspiracy forums of people saying what different things they think what helps vitamins. Dr. Shiva was talking about a lot of stuff too, even while it was still new. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind. But yeah, as far as like now where I work is kind of clamping down on the mask stuff, and the different, or not even just where I work, my state is just they're changing everything up. So I think now is going to
Same.
hit me a little harder, a little differently, where they're going to be like, because before it was kind of like you walked in, you didn't wear a mask, maybe someone looked at you dirty, but it wasn't even like that. I'm in a smaller town, everyone was kind of like whatever. But now I think it'll be where it has that impact, which I saw happening to other people in other states with tighter
Yep.
lockdowns or restrictions. But
Oh, dude, almost everyone out here has turned into this weird Omega Karen of it's like we were talking about before the before we started this interview here is it's
yeah,
like I was just telling you, it reminds me of children in the sense that as a parent, if you've ever disciplined a child, then or just an adult, you've ever disciplined a child and then just see them go to the next child over immediately and then start chastising them for the exact same thing they just did. And it's
yeah,
that feeling of like, because you're disempowered, and it's the same way in a child doesn't feel as though they are in control of the situation. they're willing to latch onto anything they can to feel as though they're in control of the situation. And so, of course, the system gives you masks, social distancing, all this bullshit that people can then literally internalize and be like, hey, he's not wearing a mask. You're not wearing a mask. You're not practicing social distancing. It's very accusatory, and it feels like desperate people grabbing at straws for any sort of semblance of control in their life. And I'm sorry they don't have it, but at the same time, it gets pretty goddamn frustrating when you're just trying to, I don't know, go to the store and just everyone and their brother wants to act like like a goddamn dystopian movie. I totally get what you said earlier of it feels surreal. It's still, even right now, it feels fucking surreal. Like I'm just, my dad once described it to me as like, you're just going to wake up at any moment and it's all going to have been a really weird fucking dream. And it's sometime in like February or January or something. You're like, what the fuck was that weird ass fever dream I just had, man?
For
like,
real.
Fuck. I was like, everything was racist and the whole country was burning and everyone had to wear a mask and fucking, they were talking about, well, I mean, here in Washington State, they're still fear mongering all of us with goddamn murder hornets still.
Oh no.
Because, hey man, they found 2 last year. 2 in the whole state last year, and they're like, we're all gonna fucking die, man.
That's awesome.
It is so weirdly surreal, but it's I feel bad for some people in other countries and other states that are doing it a lot more intensively than we are here. And I mean, I've heard Washington is one of the worst ones here in this country outside of California for shitty lockdown stuff, but I don't know, man. From some of the stuff Eric and Scott have told me, they're living in Thailand and shit.
Sure.
Like, fuck. Ooh. That is, their shit is fucking horrible, man.
See, I wanted to email him about that too, because I heard about I didn't mean to interrupt, but like the tape on the doors were like, so that that was my thing. I heard about that. Whew, I have to email him.
It's spooky shit, man. They'll have stuff of like just even the temperature scanner stuff where you go jog to the store or walk to the store or ride a fucking bike, considering it's summertime, right? And you're like, okay, whatever, so I'm not going to be in an air conditioned car. You get to the store, they take your temperature because your blood pressure or your body temperature is elevated, right, from walking through the sun. And also they're in fucking Thailand, so it's like hot, right? That it's technically there. I don't think I don't know if they're southern hemisphere or northern. I think they're right on the near southern hemisphere type stuff, so I don't know if it's like as hot there as it would be here, but I'm pretty sure it's goddamn hot all the time. So they're hot, right? It's sweaty. Somebody's jogged to the store or something, and then they take a temperature reading of your face or off your forehead, and they're like, nope, you're too hot, you're sick. But then you'll wait like 10 minutes in the shade, you cool down, they take your temperature scanning, and they're like, oh, nope, you're fine, come on in. What the fuck?
Yeah, dude. Like, man, for real. I think that's like, I've been seeing that even with the guys at work. Like we've heard everything about everything. We've heard like, asymptomatic people can get other people sick very easily, which was like, wow, we need to like shut this down. But now they're like, asymptomatic people, it's just not that easy. Okay, then what's up with the lockdown? Kids, I think like 1 kid died. You know what I mean? Or like, so
one
like,
in the entire country so far, and it's the biggest fucking deal ever. I know.
You know, and it's just, I've heard some really good comparisons. Different people, what they say with cases instead of deaths. Oh, it's a whole thing.
Well, or did you see the shit of now it can get in your ears?
Oh,
and now Fauci's, now it can get in your ears, so now we'll have to wear fucking ear coverings. And then they're like, it can get in your eyes too, so now we have to wear like eye goggle protection and shit. It's oh my God.
You know what? I should have known. I should have freaking known, because I just was scrolling through Instagram or saw like some kind of video promotion for a mask with the visor connected to the front of it. I was just like, I just kept scrolling. I'm like, that's stupid. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh man.
Yeah, it's like I thought the other day. It hit me the second they said that. No, man, we're reaching the point where these cocksuckers are just going to have us in fucking hazmat suits everywhere, or just full lockdown. But I'm sure you get this. If there's that thing of you know how in the from like 40s all the way into the late 60s, I mean, I've heard they had a little bit of this in the 70s, but the duck and cover sort of fucking ridiculousness about nuclear assault. We could have chemical weapons raining down in the United States, or a nuclear explosion at any moment type shit. And that fear propaganda. There are people that for like decades afterwards had to be shaken out of that fear mode, right? That we're still in the fucking Russians could drop a bomb on us at any moment type shit, and are just fucking paralyzed with fear. These guys are going to do that to us with the coronavirus disease fear mongering stuff for decades now. There's probably going to be an entire generation of people that will still be in their goddamn apartments. Like Matt, there are people that are in their apartments right now or in their houses right now that have not left them since fucking February.
Dude, and I forgot like where because like I see people make videos and you're like, oh, this is my first time in this many months. Like, wow, I've been going to work to places without without divulging too much, but it's just been like, wow. Now
for me it's like it must be convenient for you to have, or nice to have, enough money and enough of a secure living situation to be able to just go, I just check the fuck out for like 6 months.
Right.
Like, what? Like, I got bills to pay and shit, man. That doesn't just go away.
Right. Yeah.
That's one thing I don't think any of these fucking entitled assholes with the idea of, we'll just lock everything down forever, indefinitely, until it goes away. I'm like, you realize not all of us are on some fucking like fixed income bullshit that we get no matter what every single month, right? Like, I'm pretty sure the rest of us have to like work for a fucking living. Whatever.
I know. That's what I mean. Like, I've heard every different. It's just like, okay, masks work, then unlockdown everything. Everyone wear masks. That's fine. You know, but it's just...
But now the masks don't work. But remember at first when we were all told masks don't work, don't wear masks? And now they're like, now masks are the only way that it works.
Yeah. By Dr. Fauci himself saying masks don't work. So people were like, well...
I'm about tired of seeing that motherfucker on the news, man. God damn.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And that's what's so funny, because like I can barely stand Facebook scrolling through the propaganda, because people are like, we need to listen to the doctors. I'm like, this is him... at like talking about COVID, saying no mask, and it's not like because the healthcare workers need them. It's because like you touch your mask, you fiddle, you mess with it more than you normally would.
It's fucked. I get it. I get it.
Okay, and now it keeps changing, dude. I can't wait. Like you were talking about the history books. What's it going to say about hydroxychloroquine? All this stuff too. Like, what is it going to look like? I say that's all the guys at work. What is it going to look like? What's the world going to look like a year from now? What is it going to look like a year from now?
Well, because, dude, if somebody would have asked me 12 months ago exactly, if I would have thought all this shit that is happening now would be happening, I'd have called them fucking crazy, to be honest. Like, straight up, and they're like, dude, no, Nostradamus style, I'm telling you, next year, this exact same time, Seth, everyone's going to be wearing masks, and they're all going to be afraid of you, and everything, from syrup to goddamn sports logos to anything, is racist now. TV shows, Golden Girls, shit's racist as fuck. John Wayne International Airport, John Wayne may as well have been a Nazi. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, it feels like, I once told somebody, it's like if you would have fallen into a coma and then woken up, and you're like, man, how long have I been out? Everything's racist. The country's on fire. Fucking like people fucking getting killed in the streets and shit. You're like, man, how long have I been out? You're like, oh, about 6 months. Like, what the fuck? It only took 6 months for everything to be terrible. Like,
oh my God, for everything to be terrible. What's the name of she's the younger girl that they're doing for the climate change stuff?
Oh, Greta Thunberg.
Okay. Yeah. Could you imagine, like, you know, that's when you have your coma, like, oh man, climate change, global, this is gonna be crazy. Coma, and then you come back, it's like, guys, did the icebergs melt? No, everything else gone to shit though. Yeah, that's
dude,
we fixed syrup.
I'm sure you're old enough to remember here the Al Gore inconvenient truth thing of by 2013 we'll all be under fucking water, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then they crank out the movies to back it up. Day After Tomorrow, or whatever like that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not happening.
Well, you notice it's fear. In every single case, they try and use fear. And I'll get back to the questions here in a second, but you notice that in everything it's fear. It doesn't matter if we're talking religion and fear of eternal damnation. It doesn't matter if we're talking government and fear of being imprisoned, fear of being killed, fear of being ostracized and depersoned, right? It doesn't matter if it's social circles of being defriended, being ostracized by your family, being like everyone viewing you as fill in the blank, a Nazi, a communist, a fucking whatever, right? Racist, an istophobe, a bigot, or whatever.
Sure.
It feels like fear is their biggest weapon, and the only thing I can really say, and I know it's going to sound cheesy, but it's quoting Diesel Automatic, is it's literally a war between, or a battle between fear and love. And I know that sounds cheesy to a lot of people, though, but it's what it is. It's what it is, because the opposite of fear isn't nothing. It's not apathy. It's not hate.
Right.
It's not any of this. It's love, and it's understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's perfect. That really is what it boils down to. Because then, if you have the understanding and the love to listen to someone's alternative view or their perspective on things, you know what I mean? Like that would be a big step forward instead of just someone saying something you don't like and getting mad or ripping a sign in half or different. It's like, okay,
Setting somebody's house on fire.
yeah,
Yeah.
excuse me, yeah. It's just like, I don't know, maybe it's okay. We just don't think the same. That good for you. That's how we gain some ground. I don't know.
Yeah. Seeing the shit out here in Washington has been fucking insane with a city council woman that's leading a big mob of people around to the other council members' houses to like harass them, vandalize their shit, and threaten them that they have to leave the city unless they vote however she wants them to vote. And it's like, it literally feels like some weird French Revolution or like communist Russia type shit. And
Sure.
it's people just, well, whatever. I mean, I just saw in the news they actually went to the Seattle police chief's house, that Carmen Best, and were like fucking shit up. And
Wow.
wonderful.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's what nice people, literally endorsed by a city council member that is just apparently turned into a mini dictator that has more authority than the mayor or anything out there. And it's weird because all these people try to act as though, hey man, I'm doing this out of compassion. Hey man, I'm doing this out of love. And because, we need to do the right thing. Well, the right thing doesn't require you to assault somebody, man. The right thing doesn't require you to deperson people, for you to accuse them of all sorts of ridiculous shit, for you to be burning shit in the streets or to assault the cops or whatever. Just like, come on, man.
Right.
Come on. You and I have been doing this shit for a minute
Yeah.
and have had to use nothing but words.
Right. Yeah.
I've never had to brandish a gun at somebody or to try and beat someone up or to even threaten to do so, because that's fucking childish, man.
Yeah, that's a great way to say it. It is childish. It's like if you can't do it with your words and you have to use force, like that is childish. Yeah, instead of just I
mean, for people on, regardless of how you feel about it, the people that are on some tip of like that want to invoke Martin Luther King Jr. or somebody like that, but then also simultaneously are like, by any means necessary, I'll fucking burn this motherfucker down. I'm like, you realize that's Malcolm X, not Martin Luther King Jr.?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lighting the Molotov, like, this one's for MLK. Like, wait.
I have a feeling, or better yet, like, fuck, man, I'm all about MLK. We need, like, fuck those white people or whatever. And I'm like, what? Like, judge people by the content of their heart or the content of their character, not the color of their skin. You're like, yeah, okay, whatever, man.
Okay, I missed that part of it.
Yeah, people, I really feel like people need to step back and do more self-reflection. And I feel like, honestly, I'm as guilty as that as anybody.
Sure,
but there are so many times when you let the propaganda train or the hype train just pull you in one direction, and all you need is about 10 minutes to an hour to maybe 2 to just sit and to think about thinking, to think about why you believe what you believe. And I understand for some people that's not considered meditation. To me it is, though, because I don't necessarily fully let go of everything. That's just not how my brain works, man. It's really hard for me to fully let go of everything. I try and think about why I feel this way. Why? Because I have questioned so much stuff now in my life that at one point as like a teenager and shit was stuff that was just, it's ingrained. You know what I mean? I know.
Well, and of course, why do the terrorists attack America? Well, because they hate our freedoms and hate our country. And so and they're like, well,
do they? And if they really did, would they act like this? And also, why would they hate our country or hate our freedoms or something like that? And you start actually thinking about it, and then all of a sudden you realize, wow, life is way more nuanced than I thought before. Almost like there's 7.7 or whatever billion people on this motherfucker trying to all live with different perspectives and different understandings, and that you're not going to get all of that from one source.
Right.
It's never going to happen.
No, so true.
But let's see. Number 6, this is an interesting one here. Lists of some of your favorite conspiracy theories, or those that are just closest to you personally.
Ooh, okay. That's a really good one. I'll quick shout out people in between. The Time Traveler Montgomery's in here. What's up, man? And then PGA popped in. And then, honestly, the truth. I wrote down their questions because I don't think you can see that on your end.
No, I can't.
Okay, I got it going. But no, yeah, my favorite ones. That's a really good question. Flat Earth was a lot of fun because, man, it's a trip because there's so much information that you're trying to like relearn, understand, to make it make sense. You know that it's flat. Like, wait, how can that be if this or that? Because right before Flat Earth, I was looking into like Russian satellites, like the Black Knight or something. What was it called? Like, I had like a guy at work telling me about it. He's like, check this out, dude. There's stuff going on, and like looking into it. And that was one of the first parts of like, wow, this is actually a cartoon, and this doesn't look like it. You know, so like I started to ask those questions like that. So
for me, it was the Rod of God stuff. You know, the Rod of God weapon that they have. They use like a giant piece of steel that they drop from the upper atmosphere, and it gains and like goes to like full momentum, and it actually enters at a super speed and hits with such sonic energy that it causes a mega explosion. Come on, man. Then why can't you show me a fucking picture or an actual video of this happening? Right. Instead, you're just like, no, look at these cartoons.
Right. Like, okay, CERN. You want to talk about CERN? There's a bunch of pictures of the inside of CERN and them trying to, like, do all the particle stuff. Like, there's at least pictures of it, you know, or of that going on. So, yeah, that's, yeah, as far as the different stuff, I don't know. But, yeah, Flat Earth. I'm always, the Mandela effect was a lot of fun. You know, trying to, like, understand, but, like, I don't have a good memory. So I was just like, yeah, trying to understand certain stuff. I think that was a tricky one to go through, but, yeah, Flat Earth now, like, the human consciousness or human experience, things like that, almost more like what you were saying, too. It's interesting because now I think, what was that document, the CIA, they released about the human consciousness or we're all linked, or when you die, your energy goes somewhere else, or have you heard about some of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, because they literally, our government and almost every world government has had interest in this sort of stuff, and then our media tries to spin it in all these different ways of, they're into occultism, or they're into fucking demonology or some shit. I'm like, bruh. There's ain't no demons, ain't no angels, ain't no none of this shit in the way that people understand it. Right. It's literally just us. Yeah. And they understand this, but I think that's the main reason when you get into that kind of stuff, and we'll get back to the rest of the questions here in a second, but when you get into that kind of stuff, it's one of the things that I really feel like Freemasonry and shit like that, it's so important to understand it, because those people and any of the esotericists have been passing this. It's the same thing with the idea of alchemy and all this type of shit, right?
Yep.
Turning lead into gold. Well, they're not actually talking about turning lead into gold, man. It's metaphors, and understanding that these metaphors are put out there in the same way that Bible stories are put out there for people, right? Because for some reason, people can understand when Jesus says X, he doesn't literally mean X, right? It's a metaphor. Nobody actually has a board in their fucking eye, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's
a plank in their eye. Nobody actually has a literal fucking plank sitting in their eye. They're metaphors. And the only reason they put that there, and they have this idea that people can't handle the truth, which I disagree with, but I understand. In the more you actually research it, the more you understand why they would have that perspective and why they would be trying to initiate people to different degrees of understanding. And I'm not a fan of it. I think that sort of stuff is very misguided, but at very least being able to understand it, you get that these are people trying to, in their own weird sort of twisted way, regurgitate and spread the truths of the universe and truths of existence to other people. Granted, it's through their particular, lens, their particular fucking ideas and preconceptions and shit like that, because we of course should be the ones to control this information and share it to other people, but not just anybody. But I don't know, man. I feel like the government, the system, all these people really understand the very nature of what we are and how we exist, and it's one of the main reasons why they want to keep us, as the general public, obsessed with all this completely trivial shit, is because as long as we're obsessed with who's going to win the 2020 election, or who's any of this type of fucking dog and pony show type bullshit, then we're going to be not thinking about who am I? And I don't mean who am I as in Seth Davis, just the fucking meat suit. I mean, who am I as the consciousness, as the understanding? Because I mean, I can think about thinking. I can think about, like, I've literally had deja vu experiences and shit like that. I'm sure you have too. Almost everyone has it in their life. Like a dream that you realize later when it's actually playing out in fucking real life in front of you. You're like, I had a dream that was this exact scenario.
Yeah.
How does that work? Well, it does work if we're all literally one consciousness, and time and all these things are subjective. They are not actual hard constructs in the way that we have mentally created them. Existence exists forever. It's the very nature of what Dubé has great stuff talking about it, but also honestly, Christian theology at times has some great shit talking about it, of omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience. Sure. And those three things literally have to supersede time itself. And so that means we, as as consciousnesses embodied into physical forms, are beyond that. And so, of course, the motherfucker that exists, and I agree, I point to my head, I point to my brain, but all of us have been convinced in Western society that's where consciousness resides. In reality, I don't fucking know.
Right.
Like different cultures have, my consciousness resides in my gut. My consciousness resides in my heart. My consciousness resides in whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's the thing that you can have experiences, and it's the same reason why I feel like psychedelics and that kind of stuff will really help wake people up to the idea of more. Somebody that is so involved in the material day by day type stuff aren't necessarily going to have any sort of inkling to want to delve into more about our existence, more about like the ideas of religion, the ideas of metaphysics, the idea of who are we, where are we in terms of the world and all this type of stuff. And it's when you start to question that, it can actually take you, even in things like you're talking about there, of the satellites and all this sort of stuff, trying to understand space, trying to understand the planet and where we're at and all this.
Sure.
And then you start to understand we're not on a planet, that there is no space satellites, and that there is no all this, because you actually start really questioning of like, well, then how would that tie in with our consciousness? How would that tie in with, if we were really literally pieces of God reflected and whatnot, why would we just be a little nothing created from an explosion of fucking just floating on an empty lifeless rock or something like that? But let's see, next question here we've got, what sort of conscious hip-hop artists do you listen to currently, and are you looking forward to working with next or hearing from next?
Let's see, listening to right now, that's a good question, because I do end up going through so many different ones, but I keep going back to, I do listen to, let's see here, a little bit of like Destiny Lab, ODD, trying to go through some of those. It's tough because with the Music Matters, I ended up just going through like just spells of like listening to, like when I interviewed Purist Ma'at, so then I'll go through, I'll try to listen to her stuff. Just everything. I'll go through some of yours too still. You know, I'll do like the playlists. You know, YouTube is still does a pretty good job with their music, and it's, you know, as long as my mobile data can handle it, I'll just pop through some of those. But yeah, Diabolic. So I'll just go back to those to get into those moods. But yeah, it's gonna sound so bad, but I listen to a lot of my own stuff to improve upon it, you know, like it's like,
I literally do the same, man, and it's how you get better, because you analyze your rap music in the same way you'd analyze somebody else's.
Yes, totally. So that is a lot of that, like going back, or like, okay, how can I do this, or different collaborations, or things like that. Some CMAS, the Brain Cell, he's been cranking out stuff too, so I try to listen to him. Also another one too that really inspired me, which I left out, was Eric Dubé's the Flat Earth Movement, that album that he did.
Straight up.
That was another one that inspired me too, because it seemed like he did that all on his own, and that was just like, you know what, like I need to
actually
take
I totally get you, man.
Yeah. Because
there's something to be said when you get to hear, and I'm sure it's the same thing with you and I, for some people that have listened to us and whatnot, where it feels like this is just somebody. This is just some guy recording stuff, and his heart's in it. He's got the ability, but might not necessarily have the best production value, but that's because there's no giant fucking multi-$1,000 studio that he's sitting in. There's just him sitting in his fucking living room with a goddamn computer and a fucking microphone, a la me, where I am.
Yeah.
Doing literally this. I don't have some fucking sound eliminating foam on the walls.
Sure.
I don't have the ideal setup in a specific room of my house that's off and away from everything. I don't have any of that shit. I literally record everything right here at the dining room table in my fucking living room, man. Like, it is what it is.
And that's the beauty of the technology, right? Is being able to go through and like clean that up, mix it down, noise removal, noise can't. Yeah, it doesn't need to be that overproduction, and that almost is on par with like the overproduction of porn, right? Where it starts to give you this false sense of like, oh, what it should be like, what music should
what
be
movies
like, what
in
other
general,
women should
because
be
I
like.
wouldn't
Yeah,
just say
movies, right?
pornography, but it's
totally.
Movies have become, everything has become so overproduced, so high def, so actors and actresses that literally have like a half pound of makeup on their fucking face and then CGI digitally altered to make their pores not pop out or anything like that. So everything looks completely smooth. You're like, wow, Henry Cavill has the smoothest skin I've ever seen in my entire life. Some fucking weird shit like that. It's just, it's not reality. And then men and women see this, and then they start to like, of course they have low self-images because they see all these people that look nothing like them or anyone else they fucking see on a regular basis. And so they're like, man, we're all just hideous. I'm just hideous. I don't find other people desirable. I don't find myself desirable. I'm ugly. You're ugly. We're so ugly. Like,
we're so ugly. What's wrong with
what's
our
the
water?
same shit with music?
What's wrong with our... Yeah. Oh, that's so true. I saw IPS in the comments. What's up? Infinite Plane Society. He had a question that matters: is does Tekashi 6ix9ine qualify for juggalo status? And then the Juggalo has been talking a lot about what you were saying too about the mushrooms or psilocybin and stuff like that. Connecting with the brain or getting people to get out of our flesh suits for a minute. And then shout out to Ardman. He's left some comments too for some good hip hop and some other people to check out. And one thing too with IPS is those chats that he would do inspired the song "Get Over It," the straight up flatter song "Get Over It," because that was not his mantra, but like his mindset was like, okay, it's flat, get over it. What's next? Like, how do we move it forward? So I really like that, and I tried to take that that mindset with that in that song, and that's when I did pick a little. I had "Who Am I" was almost done. And it was missing one more song, and I was listening to the album, and was like, while we were recording it, and just going through, and like, I actually don't have like I had Men on the Moon, but I didn't have a straight up like flat earth song. I'm like, this is what one of the last like the nails in the coffin, or what like really inspired me to make this project. I don't have anything that's straight up just solely about it. So that's what inspired that song. And then I knew it had to be like, I knew it had to hit pretty hard. I had that beat. I have like a playlist on YouTube of just all the different beats. And I found that one. What kind of type beat is that? That might have been like another Vinny Paz one. It's got like the choir in there or whatever. But yeah, that one was a lot of fun, and it was really cool. DMO was really supportive of it. I'm like, hey, I got one more song. I got to do this. Like, I have to make it happen. He's not a flat earther or anything like that, but he was open to it, and really made that one pop. And thanks for loving the
that's
chat,
what
guys.
I like about working with people that have different perspectives and stuff like that, because not necessarily everybody I've ever rapped with is a fucking flat earther or anything like that. And it's nice to have people respect each other enough that they're willing to work together. I mean, dude, I've rapped with guys that there's some guys that are some pretty woke folks, and I don't mean like politically awake. I mean woke folks, right? That I've rapped with at times, and I don't think there's anything wrong with those people. I still like them as people and stuff like that. And I had no problem rapping with them. It's just we happen to disagree on some stuff. That's fine, man. That's fucking life.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that in the modern day, it tends to be like that. That defines you. Your opinion literally defines you as a human being. Your opinion on this one subject can completely invalidate any sort of character positives that you have at all to most people now. And I think that sort of shit is very it's very small-minded, and it feels like a definitive like a mental construct that we've had put on us for quite a while in order to keep us from ever discussing things amongst ourselves and actually growing as people in a community.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the beauty of it too. Like, we try to go back and forth with, truth movement or whatever, but it's mostly about free thinking, being able to think for yourself, and then letting other people think, think and let think, that mindset. And that's what's so great too, I'm looking more into like the whole food plant-based stuff, trying to eat less animal proteins, myself, looking at the health benefits and less. And I just watched Forks Over Knives a while ago,
Nice.
so that kind of helped. Like that information, it just helps reinforce it in me. And like listening to guys like Diesel Automatic, TK the artist, things like the Air.
Oh, dude, you ever watch what was it? Oh my God, what's it called? Earthlings. If you ever want to
Yes.
get punched in the fucking chest,
yeah.
that'll do it, man.
Dude, I had to stop. I watched it, but like I got to a certain point and I paused. Like they put the text up for they're talking about pigs where like they clip their teeth. When the text popped up, I stopped the video. I was like, okay, I need to prepare myself mentally to like I'm watching it because I need to know this stuff, But no one. I joke a little bit with my girls. I got daughters, and like I like to joke around and stuff, or like whether if we're eating something and maybe I make animal noises or like because you don't think of those things. When you're like having a hamburger, you're not like, oh, this was a cow. Like this is beef hamburger. It all has different names. No one's like, oh, let's have cow tonight. You know what I mean? It's like
and all the different senses of what it took to get that hamburger right fucking there.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand. This isn't just old Farmer Joe hanging out on the farm there, goes out, and Bessie's a little bit too old to be able to take care of the calves anymore, everything. And so I'm like, sorry, Bessie, I love you. And you shoot the cow. And then he cuts it up, and then, you eat. It's on your fucking plate after it's ground up. That is, even in an ideal world, if somehow that was how it happened, that wouldn't necessarily be good for you or anything like that. And it wouldn't be good for the cow, any of that shit. But at least that would be something. And that's most people's idea of how it goes. That ain't how it actually fucking goes. After you see some actual documentaries on that, and then more importantly, see inside a lot of these facilities, fuck that. Why would you ever want to eat something that comes from a place that's literally the ground is covered in blood and shit? Like what? Fuck that.
It is definitely an eye-opener. And
it reminds me of watching documentaries on where your fucking shoes come from if you buy Nike or Adidas. Where your clothes come from, any of that shit. And it's granted, it's not the same, but it's similar in the sense of like, oh my God, I'm not gonna fucking spend my money to support people that are like some of the least moral human beings in fucking existence. It's like what you know about where diamonds come from and what all that shit is. Like, I'll never fucking buy diamond jewelry. Fuck that. I'll play my part to fucking make that industry go broke real goddamn quick.
For sure. Choices,
who wants to be a part of that? Who wants to be a part of that? Like literally, oh, it's a beautiful rock, but by the way, literally millions of people suffer for this shit because it's a beautiful rock. Like, oh, wonderful.
Let's not talk about how we obtained it.
I feel like that in general, it happens to be a part of is, as you brought up earlier, the flat earth stuff feels like it's a staging ground for all of this because it shows you that life has worth. Your life, all life, just life has worth. Life has a meaning, a matter to it, right? It's one, even though it's not my most popular song with Eric, it still might be my favorite, is You Matter. And it's literally the idea that more than anything and all this stuff, the flat earth, all of this is all about specifically that you as an individual, yes, everyone else in the whole rest of the world, yes, every animal, yes, every blade of grass or every tree or whatever, but you individually, just you, Matty Moses, or me, Seth, or you, whoever's watching this right now, whoever's listening, you matter. And they can't take that away from you no matter what. And when you have that sort of a perspective, it creates not only self-reflection, but it creates empathy that you have for others, that it's really hard to explain to somebody or to even look back and reflect upon who you were before and to see yourself as somebody with that little empathy and that how it's grown over time and your understanding of self and others and the worth that they have. In general, culture does all this stuff to tear us apart and to make us go kind of fucking crazy and cold in the heart overall and treat other people like they don't matter because, whatever, man, it's just me, just me until I can just, wake up again, go to work, come home, eat some food, go to sleep, wake up again, go to work. A lot of people get caught up in that same, the doldrums, as it were, until they eventually kind of turn into a fucking man robot.
And it can really, it makes it easier to be apathetic. It's just like, well, I got my own stuff to worry about, and then slowly as that bubble kind of just gets closer, well, at least it's not me or not this, or, I think that was, some of it too. I wasn't wasn't ignoring.
No, you're cool.
I quick punched in and found your video for You Matter. I threw that in the description. I know you can't like
Thanks,
see
man.
that stuff, so I want you to know. But yeah, I threw that in there in the comment section so people can see it as we talk about it. So,
Thanks, man. Yeah, the first song I did with Dubé was that Imagine That, and that one still, I might consider that my best song that I've ever dropped in terms of like, because dude, the fucking timing on that is glorious, and it's also probably Eric's best 16 in terms of fucking like just it feels like it just punches you like right through the fucking chest, and it's the drive. It's the drive, and it's just
awesome.
like I fucking adore that shit. But you got any questions or anything like that? I saw you got some notes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let me. So someone had asked. Oh, it was a lot. What's my favorite book? And if I had read 1984. So I haven't read 1984. I've heard the clips of it. I know Patricia Steer was doing some readings of it before she kind of switched up her channel, and some of that. Other than that, my favorite.
There's an
book,
audio book for free on YouTube if you ever get a chance.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to do that.
It's only like an hour and a half, 2 hours long or something.
Shit,
it's
dude. Okay.
pretty short. Yeah.
Nice. That would basically be like riding to and from work, man. I'll have to do that to get the full picture of it, because I know that's like my job. And then but one of my favorite books was Fahrenheit 451, and
Yes.
I was dating my wife, dating her at the time, and she's super into reading, and I wanted to like get into reading as well. So like, I wanted to do that a little bit. So I started to read a little bit more, and I was reading a lot of like Mickey Spillane, which are like the crime pulp fiction. Mike Hammer, you know, like he gets the dame and he saves the day. Real quick reads. But then I was switching it up, and then I came across Fahrenheit 451. Loved it. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to be able to show this tattoo without flipping all my stuff, but that's what inspired this tattoo. Was on the covers. There's one like that, and those are all the different pages and stuff like that. So that was just like off that book cover. So
That's dope.
oh, thank you. You know, and that was as far as like that was probably one of my favorite books, and that's probably just one of my favorite books, you know, ever. You know, I don't read enough books, you know. And then
Watching the motherfuckers burn the Bibles and other books and shit in Portland definitely gave me some Fahrenheit 451 vibes.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to find some footage, dude. That's gonna have to make its way into a song for sure. That imagery, you know.
Yeah, for sure, because it's wild to see it. We're constantly told the worst people ever, Nazis, burned books.
Yeah.
Burning books is bad, right? And then these motherfuckers are out in the street burning books, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
And abolished the police, right, so that the browncoats could kind of take over.
Well, yeah, that's exactly. It's not a lot of people seem to understand that all this kind of shit has happened before, not even just in the last 100 years, but throughout most of human history. Of course, they don't want to follow the basic law of the land and shit because they're constrained by it. They want you to be constrained by it, not them. And that's why you notice with the lockdown, preferential treatments to some businesses, like certain businesses getting totally screwed over based on political lines and stuff like that. Certain athletes or movie stars or actors or whatever that can say the bad thing and then they're okay. I mean, Nick Cannon is a great example of this, who says some shit that like would be considered mad anti-Semitic or mad racist anti-white shit. And yet for some reason, because he fits into the narrative that they're trying to push at the moment, it's fine. Whereas if, let's say, Robert De Niro went out and said the exact same things Nick Cannon said, don't even change it. He just said it also about white people and Jewish people. He would be fucking crucified. We get to see Robert De Niro on a cross somewhere. Like, it's done, right?
Like,
he'd be the new Mel Gibson. And
well, that's a good comparison.
That's what I mean, is we get to see preferential treatment within any of this, and it's that rules for thee, not for me type stuff. And I fucking hate that, man. And I know that, people make the Norm Macdonald joke of the hypocrisy is the worst part about the Bill Cosby stuff. Ha, 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 right? But I mean, that I do hate hypocrisy with a serious fucking passion. And it's these people that pretend to be the most open-minded, the most caring, the most, oh God, dare I use the word, liberal people out there that 90% of the time ain't that fucking liberal, man. I mean, granted, as we know, most conservative people or people that claim to be conservative ain't fucking conservative.
Right.
Like, I'm conservative until it comes to bombing other countries and bailing out giant banks and continuing the military industrial complex and the police industrial complex and the prison industrial complex and so on and so forth and so forth and so forth.
Yeah.
Exactly. Conservative in the same way, liberal, except for all those opinions I fucking hate. Fuck those people. Yeah, liberal. Yeah, okay, cool.
That's awesome.
But let's see. You got any other questions here? Because I got one left for you.
Okay, this last one was about this is from, I believe it was the Juggalo comment too. Is why are all the rappers, when they rap about COVID, why are they bringing up 5G? And that was just a general question. I don't feel like that's just for me, but I'll give my take on it first. I feel like that's the surface level conspiracy for it, is that correlation, and then I think was that some of them were like blowing up 5G towers, or people were destroying them. We'll say it doesn't have to be blowing them up, and now that's kind of blown over. I think I don't know. I think it's flipping too. I think 5G and the microwaves and all that stuff, that the EMF isn't good for our bodies, and maybe that, if that messes with your immune systems and makes people more susceptible to get sick. But I think it muddies the water by saying 5G causes coronavirus. Boom.
Exactly.
And then they have a target, a bullseye, that it shuts down the argument, and then they don't need to look any further, and then that's the new label for conspiracy theorists. And I saw that a lot with on the conspiracy subreddit too, because I try to that subreddit is actually how I found out about Dr. Creep. He's someone that I've been listening to a lot lately, like just his album I Am the Storm, but he has a song on there called Pandemic, and I found out about that song. He's talking about coronavirus, 2020 body stacking through that subreddit. But you were hearing everything. Like I keep saying that. I've heard everything. Masks, no masks, the 5G hoax, bioweapon. I've heard every single aspect of it, and it's just I try to take it all in. Nothing is too ridiculous, and that way I can use my own discernment and start to piece it together. Like 5G, I don't necessarily buy that, because I feel like other things would you would be able to connect more dots and be like, okay, these places have it, or when they stopped having it. And I know there's some of it is available in Milwaukee. I don't know if it's rolled out though, but that's another thing. I think those are dots to connect. I'm not one of the people to completely dismiss it, but to go out and say that is causing this, I don't want to say it hurts the movement, but it's an escape for people who aren't into conspiracies at all. And this might be one of their first ones. So food might be some people's first one. You might be like, oh, the food pyramid is is garbage. No one should be having 8 servings of carbs a day.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, so everyone has a different one they get to, and oh, well, why would they lie about that? It's well, I don't know. Who do you think funded all that stuff? You know what I mean? Everyone has their different rabbit hole that they go down. So COVID, right before the Black Lives Matter protests, people were protesting all the different masks and stuff and out there, and then it was you're killing grandma for being outside. And then the week later it was Black Lives Matter, and they're you're part of
actually brave. You're actually brave.
Yeah. Wow, you're a hero, and we have a hashtag for you. So I don't know. So that's where I just I don't know. But that is a good question, and I think that what we talked about a little bit earlier, smoke, where what would be considered conscious hip hop if someone is just screw Donald Trump. Whoa, that's conscious hip hop. This dude's
no
woke.
shit. Suddenly Snoop Dogg is fucking conscious hip hop.
Yeah. It's wow, that was really hard to say. I mean, some billionaire, things like that. That's a really easy target instead of looking at the community around you. And
you want to talk about low hanging fruit? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There's somebody in the early 2000s talking shit about George W. Bush. I'm
right.
Wow, that's a surprise,
dude. And that's all the comedians were doing that, because I loved Patton Oswalt during that. I listened to his stuff, and I'm that's really funny. And he'd be even saying oh, it started this war based on a freaking lie, on a fucking lie, and all this stuff. Whoa, this guy's talking about some real stuff. It's that was really easy to say then, though.
Yep.
You're.
That's what kind of pisses me off, is it was in vogue, and it illustrates the cowardice of the average person so much, of that when it's in vogue to insult somebody, to question authority, to be against the system, then they'll do it. It's the exact same thing right now with Donald Trump. But I'm sure you've noticed when Obama was president, a lot of these motherfuckers got real crickety real fucking quick.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Just like
and I think
type shit, like nothing.
And I don't want to speak for Diabolic, but he had some issues with Immortal Technique because of something very similar. He's like, you stopped being political and making a lot of comments for 8 years, basically. Like
it's one thing that I respect about that low key guy more than a lot of motherfuckers out there is the fact that low key straight up is a left wing socialist sort of a dude, but straight up called out Obama, has straight up called out politicians on both sides of the aisle every single time, and it's because he's consistent. I don't have to agree with him on everything he says, but he is fucking consistent, and that is something I will always respect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. And that was it for questions too.
Okay, but for me with the COVID and 5G stuff, I would say, fuck, Matt, I'm pretty much on the same tip as you with a lot of that shit. I'd say that there's probably a pretty good chance that 5G or any of this with electromagnetic frequencies would be bad overall for somebody's like electrochemistry in their body.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's causing coronavirus because I think that's sort of a jump. Whereas part of me feels like it's, and again, it's as you brought up earlier, and I'm not just trying to shit on anybody's thing, regardless of what your theories are or something, but I really don't think that there is a coronavirus 19. I think that coronaviruses are a family of colds.
Sure.
Colds, coronavirus, you know what I mean? Like rhinovirus and all this type of stuff is related to it.
Yeah.
But I really don't think that there is this monster COVID-19 that they have out there. It feels like because of how political this has been from the beginning, because of the inconsistency within their wear the masks, don't wear the masks, lock down, don't lock down, fucking it's elderly people, now it's young people, now it's all people, now it's in your eyes, now it's in your ears, now it's everywhere, now it's on your mask, now it's if you touch your mask, now you got to wash your hands, now it doesn't matter if you wash your hands, now you got like wash your vegetables, don't wash your vegetables, do this, do that. It reminds me of the bullshit of this week tomatoes are good for your heart, next week tomatoes are bad for your heart.
Sure.
Like
totally.
I literally covered that with, I believe that Scott on Truth Sentinel and whatnot a long time ago. If we used to make fun of those sorts of things, of take news articles from like a couple months ago and now, and it's from the exact same news outlet telling you completely fucking contradictory information.
Yeah.
But because most people have no track record, they have no long-term understanding of what's going on and really shitty memory about this kind of stuff, they let a lot of these news organizations get away with it. And that to me is the coronavirus thing, is think of how many people, just because they didn't have time to think about it or don't like remember stuff very well, that don't remember that when this all started, they told us, fuck masks, don't wear a mask.
Yeah.
Don't lock down anything. You're just, overall, just try and, stay healthy and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now you have to wear masks or you'll fucking die. Like, what?
Yeah.
What? You can't just 180 like that on shit. And it's just, and then there won't be a vaccine. Now there will be a vaccine.
Yeah.
Now there might not be a vaccine. Now there definitely will be a vaccine and you better fucking take it.
Yeah.
But now maybe we'll make you take it. We might not make you take it, but like,
And there might be
that
two.
makes me think from the, what's up?
There might be 2 vaccines. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. There might be 2. And I don't buy it, man. I feel like all of this is fear. And it's like we talked about earlier. Every operation that these people run is either based on just fanciful thinking and stuff that people want to be true. And then 2, stuff people are afraid might be true because they run with fear and just glittering generality, like a baseless optimism, are pretty much their 2 biggest weapons that they use every time. Because I'm talking about the baseless optimism stuff, the goddamn space shit and all this. So fucking Elon Musk is truly going to lead us to the future on Mars. He's such a brave guy, and we'll colonize the planets and stuff and move off into different constellations and star systems, and everything will be fine. And who gives a shit that there's people starving in the fucking streets everywhere? Who gives a shit that a lot of us are homeless right now? Who gives a shit that people are losing their jobs, that everything's locked down, that everything's fucking burning? But come on, man. Come on. We're going to space. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. And like realistically, who's going to go to those new, quote unquote planets, right? Like, we'll take all the, it's going to be the elite, as if that were possible.
If it was real, then that is exactly how it would be. But you notice none of these motherfuckers are doing it.
Yeah,
that's the exact same thing that I've noticed with the SpaceX shit or with Virgin Galactic before it, right? they promise something within 10 to 20 years every single time, and that fucking date just keeps moving further and further to the right. You know what I mean? Further down the timeline. Just like I just kicked the can down the road a couple more years, and now by 2027 we'll definitely be on the moon. We'll definitely have it. We'll be colonized. It'll be then 2027 rolls around. Maybe it'll be 2035. Come on, man. Just wait. Give us some time. Be patient. Be patient. Like, okay. Considering y'all have been saying the same fucking shit since like 1970, I will wait. I literally have seen speeches where fucking Ronald Reagan's talking about how we're gonna have like bases on the moon and Mars and all this shit. I'm like, okay.
I found an article.
Fucking hold my breath.
Hold my breath. I found an article that's from like 5 years ago, and it was about like, within the next few years, scientists will be able to recreate dinosaurs and stuff. And it's like 5 years old now. I sent it to my buddy Noah, who's like, good shit, always super supportive. He's night runner on my song Alone. He did the singing on that one too, which like he feels bad about, but I think it turned out great. I didn't want to sing that part, and if it was truly mixed down, like if it was handled right, I did like it was mastered, but that doesn't fix it. You know what I'm saying? So But I thought he did fine on that one, so I'll love to know. But he'll send me shit, I'll send him shit. So we have a lot of fun doing that, but. Yeah, he's been another really big support too, and he's allowed me to be myself, which is awesome. And man, we just crack each other up with some of the most inappropriate jokes in the entire world. But it helps to have someone like that, no holds barred, no gloves. So you just say the funniest stuff to each other. So.
Well, yeah, there's of course the dinosaurs thing for me. Even before Flat Earth, one of the big things that turned me on to the idea that. They might be lying about space is that Scott guy, from Truth Sentinel, used to do shows with a couple people and we would get together for like little round tables and stuff. You can probably still find all of it on his channel on YouTube there. It's just Truth Sentinel. Okay. And first show I did with him is like 2014. And speaking of pandemic, the very first show we did together was about Ebola and all the fear-mongering bullshit at the time, right? So we've come full circle, I guess, from that. But we used to cover news stuff about space because I was fucking in love with covering the news of like international news, business news, economic news, just anything you can think of, right? Like anything going on. And space was a big one of them for me, right? And holy fucking shit, is that not where I started to get into the eventually what would become my Flat Earth awakening because of how fucking ridiculous some of these stories were. One of my favorites was with Scott. We covered a thing of a galaxy-sized cloud of alcohol that exists out there, and then that the center of the universe smells like berries and rum. That's a fucking literal, I think, like Fizz.org article, and it's like, what the fuck, man? Come on, that's sort of like
stating it as a fact, as so matter of a fact. It's like, oh, the center of the. You're not. There's no way to test or prove that.
Yeah, it's just baseless speculation, and that's actually what started getting me to question all of this. Is I realized they could fucking say anything. They literally could fucking say anything. We did the mathematical equation thing of trying to show, because they actually showed individually how they supposedly find these new Earth-like planets and stuff like that, or find planets by taking a star, looking at its color shifting, right? Yeah. And as it shifts color or whatever, you time out how long it goes between color deviations of a certain variety, right? Yeah. That must mean there's a planet there. That must mean because of the color of that planet that goes in front of the star to make it twinkle like that, that it means that there must be a planet comprised of gaseous combination XYZ, right? And it is literal fucking like, it's pseudoscience. It's straight up pseudoscience. It's like the sort of shit of like, let me measure the size of your forehead to tell if you're going to be a criminal later on in life.
Yes.
It's,
oh my god.
Let me look, it's the goddamn the crazy shit. Let me cut out some of your blood and look at the color of it to make sure that you're not going to have demons in your bloodstream there tonight, bud. Like, it's just awesome. Goofy shit. But the last question I got for you here, and then we can wrap her up, is any advice for people thinking about getting into conscious hip hop, conspiracy community, or in general activism and being more a part of the sort of stuff that we do?
I would say, if you're thinking about getting into hip hop, start with, the bare minimum stuff. I had a guy, I believe it was Neil, and I felt bad because he was leaving comments, some weren't showing up. It was a whole thing. but I was letting him know what microphone I use. It's a $60 Samson Meteor mic. I mean, don't feel like you have to go broke doing it. Just start. And I tell myself this as an artist, just in general, that like I still haven't written my best song yet, as motivation. Like you just don't know. So like when I did Men on the Moon, and you fall in love with it, and you love the song, boom. But then it's like, get over it. Oh man, that one hits so hard. That is such a great song. Or so it's like you have that in you. Just write. It's not going to be perfect the first time. Write it, record it. Audacity's free. Microphones you can get for under $100. I've got a little foam thing that I made from eggshell bedding and an empty box. I made a spit screen from pantyhose. You know what I mean? Like it's what you want to make it. Don't be afraid to reach out. We were talking about that, about like people and working together like that. So if you want, I love collaborations because like 80% of the work's done. You're like, I've got this sick beat. I want to rap about Larry or it was Jeffrey Epstein. But it was Larry Epstein's how the song turned out with Brain Cell. He was like, he's this, boom, and then it's like, okay, I can 16 lines flies by when you have a topic. If you're like, oh, okay, so yeah, do that.
I like Larry Epstein though. That's like a combination of Larry Silverstein and Jeffrey Epstein.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so that was. Like, it was, yeah, so that was, and I like the way that one turned out. So, stick with it. Feel free to reach out, even if it's just questions. I try to put all the links in my description below for my videos for, like, Facebook and so on. So, if you ever want, messages, Instagram. Yeah, a lot of people are more than willing to collaborate. Eric Dubé, so chill working with him. Jumped right on that 200 Proofs rap. I love what he did with it too. Excuse me. He made that his own video, kind of added to it. That was so cool. I wish I would have just asked him like, oh, hey, like I'm recording, I'm making a video. Like, do you want to film some? But I got, put him on the pedestal, or felt like I felt like he was doing enough that I'm like, oh, do I need to ask him to do this one more thing to make this video? So I love what he did with it. Check that out. I'll try to throw that either in the description or whatever for this. But yeah, reach out, man.
I love his videos, man. He does a great job of throwing clips and little bits together and whatnot for our collaborations and all that kind of shit. It's stuff that I would have never thought to put together.
Yeah, totally. No, those are great, and it does a good job telling the story. That's what I really like about it. But yeah, those would be my biggest things, just going forward, conscious hip hop music, and then for the critical thinking of things is just I'm in like a flat earth Discord, and that has a bunch of things on it, but I try to be really active in the conspiracy subreddit and just go through there. I think it's a great way to get other people's where people are. So taking that information, what are people talking about? And I still follow Funny, some of the main subreddits, because man, early in the year they were hammering the anti-vax stuff. And to me, I'm like, why are they making fun of this so hard? Like, who's talking about it? Why does it matter, the anti-vax stuff? And then now I see what's happening. I'm like, that's why they took months worth of like making fun of people who don't want vaccines, because now they're gonna try and roll out a new one.
Yeah, and then they want you to forget all about all those fucking people with the goddamn polio vaccine or the fucking swine flu vaccine or any of that shit. How many people got fucked up and died? But
hey man, this time will be different. That was then in the past when we had a vaccine that nobody had tested really for jack shit on people and stuff like that, and we quickly rolled it out onto the masses. And it had simian virus 40 in it and gave a bunch of people cancer and fucked people up permanently for the rest of their lives and shit. But this time will be different, man. We developed this in less than a year.
Dude, yeah. And that was one of the lines that I really loved in End of Days, because Vinny Paz is saying, like, bird flu was a lie, swine flu was a lie. Why would that even come as a surprise? When I heard, like, someone saying stuff like that, I'm like, wow, like, that's on another level as far as, like, conspiracies, which, like, it's like, okay, this is up to speed. Like, I can get behind this. So, I would love to hear his thoughts on COVID, because I'm sure they would change. I feel he has to now with social media. You have to toe a certain line. He probably couldn't say that. He couldn't say the swine flu is a lie, COVID is a lie. Like, he'd get in a lot of trouble. So I think the social justice warriors would take over. But someone asked, what instruments do you use? So I've played guitar and bass, but I personally haven't recorded anything and used it that way. So all the beats, instruments, or I'll make it instrumentals. There's a lot of stuff from YouTube. Sasquatch Mind Control has sent me stuff. He sent me a couple songs. We did Frankenstein and then 200 Proofs rap. Those were both SMC. You were saying same. So yeah, like that's the beat you sent me, and then The collaborations I have with the Brain Cell too are that way. They're all just YouTube instrumentals from what I understand. And then DMO found all of his for like the Moses and the Hermit stuff was off of a website. It was like a True Mental, TRU Mental doc, and that's where he found a lot of his beats. I got so but a lot of the times it starts with YouTube, right? And then you might go down if you want to lease the beat, which is another big thing too. Chief Crow and the Flat Earth Worms says, "Call me up, I'll make you beats." Hey man, that's awesome. I love the music that you've done. I think you made one of the beats that Shill Scanner rapped on, Chief Crow, and what was that one? But that, like, I heard that one, something about the bubonic chronic and stuff like that. So I think you might have made that one, but yeah, no, I'd love to collaborate with you guys. Twin Serpent, that was System of Lies. Like, I forget about that song because it's not really on an album. It's kind of just floating because it's their song and I'm on it. But I love that.
I've been supposed to have collaborated with them Mugs for a minute, man. But I don't know what's going on with them. I hope they're doing good and everything like that. But because, dude, they have some great music, some absolutely like intense sort of stuff, and the way they put videos together and everything is fucking amazing, man.
Yeah. No, absolutely, absolutely. So I hope. Yeah. I actually, okay, this will be one of my last things. I did get the call to wrap this up. I was working on a song with Twin Serpent that. I was in an IPS chat. I was like, hey, I got this song, Fall of Man. I got this idea. They're like, we have a beat that will fit that. They sent me this beat straight up like 9 Inch Nails style. I love, like, so cool. I wrote to it, The Fall of Man. I kind of talk about the different seasons, kind of touching on like, which for me in the Midwest, it's a little bit more prevalent of like it's winter, the sadness, or like, hey, like it's really tough. Those lulls and kind of messing with that, with like the human, vibrations or emotions, kind of woo woo, but like a little more like that.
No,
like,
I get you, dude.
Lulls,
something
like
so basic as sunlight. Of you're just it's winter and fall and fuck, dude. I'm in Washington. Trust me, man. I get it. There are times when we get like maybe 100 days of fucking sunlight within a year where there's no clouds, no overcast, no nothing.
Yeah,
I get it.
So that's one of the. I'll send you that rough, man. I'd love. I try to touch them, and they were working on their own project. They had they did a remix. It was a Rolling Stones song, no, a Satisfaction. They did their own spin on it and stuff like that. So I hope that works out for them. It's been really cool. But that was one thing we talked about, timing. Everyone's got a life and other things going on. But
speaking of which, I'm sure we'll have to wrap this up here shortly. But anything else you want to say as we wrap her up?
No, that was it. This is this has been a really good experience. Thank you for taking the time to interview me, Smoke. This is a lot of fun, man. Just getting to talk.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you for doing the Music Matters, doing the interviews and stuff. It's the least I could do, man. Anytime you need a collaborator, need some help on some shit, you just let me know.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I've got I do have like my next project all kind of lined up with songs and topics. So I'll start going through beats and make sure I get you on some of that, at least a couple of that too, whether it's some music. I'm excited, but yeah, thanks to everyone in the chat. This was a lot of fun. Monday at noon. I'll have to remember that.
Indeed.
But,
well, everybody have a good one, and we will wrap it up here.
All right. Yeah, I'll thank you for checking this one out. Loving the comments. Appreciate all the support from this channel, from guys like Smoke. I'll link his. I linked one of his songs earlier. Go, feel free to check his stuff out. I feel like if you're aware of my music, you're aware of Smoke's, but definitely check him out too. So this is gonna be a good year for everybody. So I already can't wait for next year to see what the world looks like too, or what the music looks like. So, but other than that, thank you for checking this one out. Have a good one.
You do.